This week on the RV podcast,
RV industry and campground shutdowns. We sort through the confusion.
we put a Starlink Mini to the test with impressive results despite its small form.
Scary wildlife encounters. Why you always need to be alert out there.
All this plus the RV news of the week and your questions coming up in episode 545 of the RV podcast.
Hello, everybody. I am Mike Wendland. That's our dog, Bo, walking behind us. And this is my lifelong traveling companion and my bride, Jennifer, wearing her brand new Nashville shirt.
Yeah, I picked this up in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry, and I think it's cute.
And we just returned from a wonderful week in Nashville and our Spring RV Lifestyle Communities Rally.
It was the official start of the 2025 camping season for many of our over 70, I think there were almost 80 people who came, and we attended the Grand Ole Opry, caught lots of music downtown, toured honky-tonks, museums, and historic spots, and did lots of socializing.
And in the social media buzz segment in a bit, Wendy is going to have a special report from the rally. And later on this week, we'll have a full-length video on our YouTube channel. That'll be on Saturday.
But last week was the first of 3 rallies we're hosting this year, not counting numerous regional and local events around the country.
If you'd like to attend one, check out the RV Communities info page at rvcommunity.com.
Now it's time for the RV news of the week.
RV industry layoffs. Looks like they're starting. And that's the big story this week, what everybody's talking about in Elkhart, Indiana.
Elkhart, as many know, is the RV capital of the world. Some 85% of all RVs on the road in North America are made there. And in the wake of tariff worries, market uncertainties, and slower consumer demands, RV manufacturers are feeling a serious pinch.
Now, the first alarming sign of industry concern came last week when about 500 workers at Thor Industries were laid off. Thor's the largest RV maker in the world and has numerous brands, and those laid off came from 3 of Thor's smaller RV subsidiary brands.
Heartland Recreational Vehicles, Cruisers RV, and DRV Suites. Heartlands and Cruisers make travel trailers, fifth wheels, and toy haulers. DRV Suites is a luxury brand of fifth wheels and toy haulers.
Heartland is closing its less than 2-year-old plant in Sturgis, Michigan. That's just right across the Michigan border from the Elkhart region. They're closing that on June 20th, and that's going to permanently eliminate 121 jobs.
And the others are layoffs and dispersed across 2 other Heartland plants in Elkhart and Middlebury, Indiana. The layoffs at Cruiser RV and DRV Suites are from plants in nearby Howell, Indiana.
Now, all this comes at a time when the industry traditionally has some short-term seasonal layoffs and production readjustments between the model years. The 2026 models normally start being produced in mid-summer, so the plants are not as busy right now, and there's always some adjustment going on. Here is what many might consider the irony of this. First quarter 2025 RV shipments were up 14%. That's a good sign, right? A good sign from last year.
Those shipments are for dealers' orders placed last summer and fall, before the current tariff confusion and market worries, when everyone was thinking 2025 would be a much better year.
Now, no one is panicking yet, but there's a lot of worry. If those Trump tariffs remain, it's been estimated that production costs on some RVs will rise as much as 20%.
So the industry is understandably a bit jittery. Such a hike would seriously erode consumer demand. With the 2026 model year production ready to start, all this uncertainty is starting to be more than worrisome.
Now, we may very well see some more layoffs from other manufacturers coming as a belt-tightening precaution. All right, we'll keep you informed. We'll be watching what happens, but no panic, but concern. I think that's a fair assessment. Now, we want to talk about campground closures, and we want to tell you they're not as bad as the media makes it sound.
We keep hearing of U.S. Army Corps of Engineer campgrounds, recreation areas, and visitor centers being closed as a result of federal workforce reductions.
Because the news keeps dribbling out and the media seems to be jumping on every possible one, it's all become a bit sensationalized. Here's what we know. Washington, Pennsylvania, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa. That is 8 states. Now, the Corps manages more than 450 campgrounds in 43 states.
Trying to get an exact handle on how many have or will be closed is very challenging. We've seen announcements about 30 Corps of Engineer locations that are being affected. That's 30 out of 450.
And as far as the 63 national parks, none of them are closed to visitors, although a number of visitor centers and programs like ranger-led hikes or presentations have been curtailed or operating with reduced hours because of staff unavailability.
Because each park makes its own decisions on what is open and what isn't, it is almost impossible to come up with the master list.
Now, there's a blog that was out and very active earlier this year called The National Park Experience. It's maintained by journalist Bram Rusin. And he started to assemble a running list of closures, but we suspect he's since tossed in the towel because the most current list is on this whole site as of March 31st. We'll put a link to his list. Maybe he'll be upgrading it. I don't know, but that's the best source we have seen at this point.
So it's not nearly as bad as the mainstream media keeps saying, but there are a lot of federal recreational areas being affected by the reduced workforce. To find out if the place you want to visit is one of them, you'll have to call them directly.
Other news, wildlife encounters are on the rise. Spring is the time when wildlife is particularly active. The bears are moving around from a long hibernation, having their young born, and people are heading back to places that were not very populated by humans in the wintertime.
So reports of dangerous wildlife encounters are coming. In Red Rock Creek, Montana last week, 2 people were fishing when a grizzly bear came charging towards them. The pair was fishing in Red Rock Creek on Red Rock Lake's National Wildlife Refuge.
State wildlife officials said the bear appeared from thick brush and it just charged at the anglers. And one of the fishermen pulled out a weapon and he shot at the bear, which apparently heard the noise and ran off. Wildlife agents came and they investigated. They don't think the bear was hit. They looked for it, but they had no success.
Up in the Pacific Northwest last week, a cougar attacked a couple's dog.
That's near the Dukabush River Trail in the Olympic National Forest.
The couple were hiking, setting up camp for the night, when they heard their dog barking, ran, and saw their labradoodle pinned by a cougar.
Now, the husband ran out. He kicked the cougar, which caused it to flee, saving his dog. And his dog was pretty traumatized, but is recovering. Now, these stories are a reminder for you to keep your pets on a leash and contain when you're hiking and camping in the wilderness.
And coming up on Mike and Jen's Story Time, at the end of the podcast, we'll share our most memorable wildlife encounter. Just goes to show you never know what's out there. This part of the podcast is brought to you by Keystone RV's Montana line of luxury fifth wheels.
Now, our own Montana High Country has been our home on wheels for the past 2 years. It's traveled thousands of miles across North America.
We often joke that it's our luxury condo on wheels. That's how comfortable the living experience truly is.
Montana sets the gold standard in our books for luxury fifth wheels, combines superior craftsmanship, continuous innovation.
Every model features thoughtful touches like expansive living spaces, residential-style kitchens, and construction that's been tested to withstand everything from cross-country adventures to winter camping.
Choosing a Montana isn't just about buying an RV. It's about embracing a lifestyle where luxury and adventures meet at every mile. Visit KeystoneRV.com and discover why Montana continues to be the choice for RVers who refuse to compromise on quality and comfort. All right, in this segment of the podcast, we're going to check in with RV land specialists from different parts of the country and find out where there's some multi-acreage land that's particularly suitable to RVers.
First up is Eric Posniak from Western Land and Ranches.
We have our Greenwood Ranch project out in Hackberry, Arizona. Awesome location. We're getting ready to release our final phase and finishing up these roads. It's gonna be beautiful. I mean, our owners from our first phase, they are absolutely loving it. And with spring blossom coming around the corner, this is the best time of year.
All right. So, how do they find out more information about that?
So for Greenwood Ranches, you want to go to ArizonaRanchSale.com. ArizonaRanchSale.com.
What else is for sale out west?
Well, we've got a project that we're just loving right now out in Colorado, right off the I-25. We're going to be back out there later in the month as well. And these are big parcels, 35 to 60 acres in size.
What about power, electricity, water, all the things that RVers need?
Yeah, absolutely. We have electricity available to the lots. There's multiple different options for water, including drilling a well, which we did a few test wells out there on our own, and fantastic results.
All right. And how do they find out information about the
Well,
Colorado property?
take a guess, Mike. How about ColoradoRanchSale.com?
All right, that's what's available out west. Now let's head east, see what we have in RV land in Tennessee. Here's Tom Spychalski.
We've got the final closeout of the reserve. It was a 3,000 acre estate. I think you checked it out, right near the Natchez Trace Parkway. And there are final properties out there. They're beautiful, and they're going to be selling them off coming up. So you can't do what you want with your property in so many places, so many states. In Tennessee, in certain parts of Tennessee, they'll let you do what you want. And especially being this close to Nashville has been important. Usually if you can do what you want, you're so far out of the market. But this is near Music City. So people are buying it just Tennessee is a great place to be. You've got 0% state income tax. You've got job growth. There's a lot of economic activity going there. It's a hands-off government. This has been an amazing project, huge success. People are doing some incredible things with their RVs up there. You can build what you want, little casita, just your RV, great trails throughout and a beautiful 3,000 acre right in the middle of horse country. Couldn't be better.
All right, Tom. How do people find out more about this? Where do they go on the web?
It's rvlands.net. That's plural, rvlands.net.
Now it's time for the social media buzz with Wendy Boyer.
Now, Wendy normally reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media and our RV Lifestyle Community Group. But this past week, she was in Nashville, Tennessee, attending our first big rally of the year, our spring rally. So we gave the camera to Wendy and said, Wendy, what's everybody talking about?
Hi everybody. This week, instead of the buzz on social media, we're talking the buzz around the campground because we're at the RV Lifestyle Spring Rally and people are talking about all kinds of interesting things, like what I'm going to share with you right now. This is the RV of Rita and Jeff Newman, two of our community members. Some of the buzz I've been hearing around the campground is questions to you about how you create these amazing scrapbooks. And I took a look of some of the pictures you've shared and things you've described, and there is just so many details here. What a great way to remember your camping trips. I'd love to hear more about how you do it. So how do you do this?
Okay. Throughout the spring, summer, and fall, we go to a lot of different campgrounds, and I take tons and tons of pictures, and the only organization I do is to put them in individual folders, so I can keep each campground. And then I spend all winter long going through each folder and taking the pictures out and putting them into a Shutterfly app. And so Shutterfly is a wonderful tool where I put the pictures on. I can write things about it. They have little stickers and borders and stuff that I can use. And that's the way that I remember each of the different camping trips that we've taken.
And I've seen you have more than pictures in these. Have I seen maps, I believe?
Yes.
And what else is in there besides maps?
Well, I have a list of all of the different campgrounds that we've gone to for that year. And every campground, we take a picture of ourselves in front of the sign for the campground, and also a picture of our site that we were at that campground. And I might have some details about what we did at that campground.
And the result is not just a scrapbook, but an amazing over 100-page book with all kinds of details, all kinds of information. They're amazing.
We use them as a reference. In some years, we'll go back and say, what was that campground where we did this? And I go pull out the book and find the campground. Oh yeah, and we did this at that campground also. So it really has been fun. And it's a way during the wintertime to relive those trips that we had taken the year before and to look forward to the next trips next year.
What a great way to remember your camping memories. Inside this Lance trailer is Joyce, and she's a member of our community that has a unique way to mark which national park she's been to, and it's an idea that has people talking. So Joyce, I've heard of people using stickers to mark where they've traveled, but we are looking at a quilt, and I see you're using this to mark which national parks you've gone to. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Well, several years ago I found this panel and I ordered it. And originally I thought that I would use national park pins, but pins come off very easily, especially when you're moving around.
Yeah.
So I put a border on it, did some very simple quilting, and I thought, why not find buttons that have something to do with each of the national parks that we have visited. So I have found evergreen trees. I have a lobster for Acadia National Park. I have whales.
So basically, each national park you go to, you're
Yes.
going to sew a button on
Yes.
that's unique to that
Yes,
park.
we've been to 23 so far.
Wow.
And of course, there's others that are historical.
So what will you do with this quilt when it's all done?
I'm just going to keep it here in the camper, and if it gets chilly, if we're around the campfire, we can throw it over ourselves, our legs. It's also something for the grandchildren. They can see something tangible when we talk about different places we visited, and they have visited some of the same parks. So it gives the grandchildren something tangible also to think about.
So there was a lot of talk around the campfire, but for the guys, I noticed it always seemed to center on gadgets and gear. And Mike spent a lot of time talking to Ed Richards from Louisiana about the Starlink Mini. Joining them was Chris Allen, and they were doing some speed tests.
What's so good about the Mini?
It weighs 2 pounds, and that's it. It's got the router built into it. Plug it in and you're online.
So you are literally just plugged into a 110 volt outlet.
But it'll also plug into USB-C.
So it'll do USB-C.
People are taking these things and put them in backpacks
Yeah.
and taking a power brick and powering it with USB-C and going wherever.
You could put it on a hat.
You could.
It would double as a hat.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's adapters that you can change this bracket out. You can mount it on a tripod or put it on a pole like you have yours. A lot of people just throw it on the dashboard. It works.
It's just amazing. And have you are you monitoring the speed on that thing?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What's he doing?
Speed.
I've had it as high as 150 megabits per second down and like 30 up.
Yeah, 30 up is great.
Yeah, now it varies, of course, depending on, well, yeah, that's looking pretty good right there.
Well, here we go. Let's do it. Let's see what we can.
And one of the neat things about it, Mike, is they have just come out with an unpublished plan. If you don't use it much, $10 a month for 10 gigabytes. Now, that's not much.
What if you're a heavy user?
165 unlimited.
Yeah.
Or $50 for 50 gigabytes. And then if you go over on the 50 gigabyte plan, it's $1 a gig. And on the $10 gigabyte plan, it's $2 a gig if you go over.
Chris, you have the big one, right?
Yeah, I do.
And what's your thoughts comparing? Look at the Mini versus the big one.
I like the Mini because it's a lot easier to travel with, as I don't mount mine. I just set it out just like Ed is doing. So I feel like maybe I'll ask them to trade mine,
Yeah.
my large one, in for the Mini. Especially it all comes, the router comes with it, right? It's all already connected. Where the larger one, the router is, separate. So
Now I have, that's mine over there, and right on the middle of the roof of my Montana I've got the big super duper antenna and the big router, but that thing sucks so much power that if I boondock and I have my Starlink on, it zaps my lithium batteries in just a few hours. That's how much power it sucks. This is just amazing that it doesn't have that power drain.
Things like this.
That will power the Mini.
This is 4,280 milliamp hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll run it for hours.
All right, well, that's just a little sample of what the buzz was around the campfire this week at the rally. And this Saturday, we're going to have a full YouTube video showing you all the fun things we did. It'll be just like you're there. So look for that on Saturday. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Bowyer, and I'll see you next week.
We have an invitation for you. It's an invitation to have fun, make friends, and find adventure by joining us at rvcommunity.com. And that's our private online community created exclusively for RV enthusiasts, away from the noise and the nastiness. You know what it's like on public social media, like Facebook. We truly believe that the journey is always better together.
And at rvcommunity.com, you're connecting with RVers who share your passions, from boondocking under the stars to swapping campfire recipes, capturing stunning landscapes through your camera lens, or even traveling with your four-legged co-pilots.
With over 24 special interest RV groups, there is a space for everybody. And best of all, there are no ads, no distractions, just real conversations and genuine friendships.
But that's not all. Join us at 3 exclusive rallies every year, held in breathtaking locations across North America. Share stories, learn from experienced travelers, and create unforgettable memories, because RVing is about the people you meet.
Now, you'll get direct access and coaching from Jen and I. We do regular live streams just for the community. There's instant chat. There's meetups in local areas and regional spots. And you're not just joining a community, you're becoming truly part of an RV family.
Come check us out at rvcommunity.com for more information. We're all about 3 things: having fun, making friends, and finding adventure.
That is how we live every day in the RV lifestyle community, because life's greatest moments happen when you dare to explore.
Now it's time for the RV questions of the week. And the first question: I notice a lot of new campers have residential refrigerators. How do you keep those cool while traveling across country or site to site? Thanks, Wanda and Todd.
RV residential fridges are meant to run most effectively on 110 volt AC power. That's what you get when you plug into your electrical outlet at home or at a receptacle at a campground. So when you're unhooked from the campground electricity and driving down the road, residential RV fridges work off battery power, which goes into an RV inverter. And that inverter converts the 12 volts DC power from the batteries to 110 volts AC power. If you're in a towable RV, you have that 7-way power connector that connects your tow vehicle to the trailer or the fifth wheel. That provides a constant source of 12 volt power. And that's also inverted, and then it keeps the fridge running as you drive without drawing down on the coach batteries. Residential fridges on big motorhomes, they draw on the coach batteries too, and they also use the inverter. But the batteries are constantly being charged because the motor of the motorhome is using the alternator to charge those batteries. So that's how you do it.
And for our second question, do you have any information about Cracker Barrel not allowing overnight parking any longer? Just saw a video about this. Sure hope this is not true, as it is always a safe place for overnight parking. Please let me know what you might know about this. Thank you. And that's from Vicky.
Yeah, this is a pet peeve of mine. I think a lot of people have heard the phrase clickbait, where something is sensationalized so that people will click and either watch a video or read a story. There's probably 100 RV, quote, influencers out there. These people, I saw several of these videos. Cracker Barrel shuts down overnight camping for RVers. Just really sensational headlines. And when you trace those all back, they all came back to one store out west that no longer allows overnight camping. And the reason they don't allow overnight camping is because that particular town was plagued by these homeless encampments and a lot of crime and petty crime. And the city enacted an ordinance that prohibited overnight camping at businesses. It's a local situation to that one place. And across the country, I don't want to say that this only happened out there. That happens in many different places of the country. A growing number of jurisdictions have enacted zoning laws to restrict overnight camping at businesses. Some Walmarts are affected and others. But as best we can tell from Cracker Barrel, they are still allowing it as a corporate policy. They welcome RVers. That's what Cracker Barrel's known for. They're very welcoming places. But some local jurisdictions are cracking down on overnight camping in parking lots. That's what it's all about. The bottom line is there's no corporate change at this point. Will there be? I don't know. At this point, most Cracker Barrels are still allowing you to camp. All right. What time is it now?
It's time for Mike and Jen's story time. Now, earlier in the podcast, we reported on some wildlife encounters that have campers and hikers on special alert. And this week in Mike and Jen's story time, we thought we'd share the story of our most memorable wildlife encounter.
This happened a few years back. We were hosting a rally at Glacier National Park. And as part of that, Jen and I were taking a group of RVers on a short 20-minute hike along Swift Current Lake.
Now, there were about 12 of us strung out single file along a narrow hiking trail that led to the Mini Glaciers campground.
We followed safety protocols. We insisted that everybody carry bear spray as a precaution, although I don't think we thought that any actual wildlife encounter was going to happen because of the proximity where we were.
Yeah, we were right next to a busy road leading to Mini Glaciers campground and restaurants.
And this little trail we were on forced us to walk single file as we admired the breathtaking scenery. The lake was right on our left, just a couple feet from our left. And there was just a little hunk of forest off to the right, and then the road.
So, despite our assumptions about the area being too trafficked for wildlife, nature surprised us.
In the thin stretch of woods between the lakeshore and the road, we unexpectedly came face to face, not only with a bear, but two other large animals as well.
While we fortunately didn't need to use our bear spray, the encounter served as a powerful reminder of how quickly assumptions about safety can be challenged in wild spaces.
What's interesting about this one is we had video, pretty much the whole encounter, and even those listening to the audio part of the podcast only, you'll be able to understand what happened.
So the thing about Glacier, we keep saying you should take bear spray even on short walks. Well, we were on a short walk and, well, Joe, tell us what happened.
As we were walking down the trail, the two guys up front with the bear spray said they saw a bear. And I was about 10 yards behind them, and I was watching the shrub move, and then I could see the bear. So the brown bear went through the woods and started walking up the embankment up to the road. People were stopping on the road looking at the bear, and I guess the bear decided to just parallel the road a little bit and then came back down here on this grassy area and was walking over towards the wooded area to my right.
And then Pat, you saw what happened. We were together. What was the bear headed for?
The cow and her baby. Then she got up and the baby got up, and then she was in frantic mode, just going around in circles, getting on the trail. I hid behind trees.
And that's where I saw the bear. The bear was maybe 15 yards from the mama and her calf. And then he saw all of us on the trail, and he kind of veered off away. I'm convinced, weren't you guys, that he was going for that calf?
He was heading.
So. We saved the calf.
Yeah.
Then we didn't have the bear issue, but we had a moose issue.
Moose issue coming
and
down
here's,
the trail.
Yeah, what happened with the moose?
Well, just trying to stay out of the calf in the mama's way. The calf decided it liked the open trail which I was standing on and ran right past me, which gave me a little fright because I figured mom was going to come get me, but she was very tolerant, and as I stepped off the trail to avoid the calf, the mama just went around us.
But the calf was 4 feet from you. And
Yeah.
now I should point out that everybody's doing the right thing. We're trying to stay out of the way and move away, but we got trapped literally between a bear and a mama moose and her cow, and
Tried to go down the trail, and we tried to get out of the way, but Mama Moose and the baby followed us down the trail, so we had to climb up into the wooded area so that Mama had a clear path in front of her and the baby to follow down the trail to get away from everybody.
and
All
then-
I saw was Mama coming at me with her ears down, and I knew I had to get out of the path. And there was a gentleman up on the road that was telling me to move faster. So I was going through the mosquitoes up that road.
So, who gives good hikes? That's all I want to say.
We survived a Wendland hike.
That's the 10 minutes
That's our
hack.
t-shirt.
Yeah, but we're not back yet.
So, what's the moral?
Always respect nature's unpredictability. Even in seemingly tame environments, wildlife follows its own rules, not our expectations.
And preparation isn't paranoia, it's wisdom.
All right. That's our story time, and that's the podcast for this week. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments, anything you heard in the program today. You can reach us through our private email, which is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com.
Happy trails.